inspired you to create Bitcoin and Friends?
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, so it's funny because as you were kind of talking about not giving up and persisting, the sort of beginnings of Bitcoin and Friends was actually because of my CoinCube project at the time. We were thinking about doing an advertisement, and by me or by we, I mean my brother and I. So I have a younger brother who is like a whiz at video production. He has a video production company. He's been at it for, I don't know, at least a decade or so. 15 years probably. He's been writing scripts since he was in high school. So he's wanted to be a filmmaker and and be in that world since he was young. But anyway, Chris and I were thinking about doing an ad for CoinCube, and at that time, as you know, as I just said, it was like this altcoin, portfolio management thing, and so we were thinking to do sort of like an Alcoholics Anonymous ad where there'd be all these different coins. It's basically guys in like plushy coin shaped outfits, right? And they'd all be sitting around a table and talking about their problems and stuff like that. And we didn't do the ad. Actually, we had another brother of mine and his wife and kids actually sewed up these costumes for us. And then I forget what happened, but I think, long story short, we kept postponing and we never ended up doing it. But that was like the very seed of the idea of just, personifying a character or characters from this crypto world and doing something. And so that was sort of the very beginning. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year later, something like that, Chris came to me and, with this idea and said, well, why don't we do a show about Bitcoin? And, we could do a cartoon. It wouldn't be that expensive to produce. Obviously, compared to live action, cartoons are relatively inexpensive. And we had never done any cartoon, animation or anything like that. So that was a little bit scary, I guess, at first. But yeah, so that was the beginnings of it. We started going back and forth on character ideas and story arcs, and just kind of riffing on it. And then we decided, what, we've got enough here that is compelling, so let's do this. And so the very first episode, which is the one that you saw, we paid an animation company to do that, frame by frame animation. I think it was like an Eastern European company. I think we paid like over 20 to 30 grand, if I remember right, something like that. Plus, voice acting and other stuff. So, it was not cheap. I think we probably spent 40 grand on that. And we both put in several Bitcoin at the time. I have yet to earn those back from the project, so hopefully someday we will. But anyway, so that was the beginnings of it. And then what we found is, as we were going, the production cost was really just prohibitive. And we ended up finding a tool called Adobe Character Animator, which it really is like 5 or 10x, or I should say 5 or 10x reduced the cost and the time of doing animation. And so I found that tool pretty early on and learned how to use it. Ended up teaching Jake, and he's taken it much further than I in terms of his ability with it. So our main animator is Jake, and he also does the voice of Metallic and a couple other characters. So it's Chris, Jake, and I are really, I'd say, the three, the core people in the project. And then we've had voice actors. We got Petey Pablo from, kind of 90s rap fame era. He's been voice acting for us, since the beginning, and has been great to work with. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I guess to get sort of to what we're hoping to achieve, or, what our goal has been, I think Bitcoin, as a technology, is awesome. And I, am just blown away by it every time I work with it and use it. It's amazing. But for non-technical people, which, most people are more in that direction, it can be a little scary. And quite frankly, like, especially early on, technical people trying to pitch people on Bitcoin would get always into the technical weeds. And I even can find myself doing it still if I talk to people about Bitcoin. And so I think pretty early on with the show, we realized we want to explain why Bitcoin matters and not so much get bogged down in how it works. There's plenty of good explainers and videos and things for that, I think. But, nonetheless, I mean, most people have no clue how email works or how the internet works, and yet they use it every day. They trust it. They know they can rely on it. So, I mean, quite frankly, I don't think it's really necessary for the vast majority of people to understand how Bitcoin works. They need to understand why it matters, why they should care about it, and why it's superior money to anything that's ever existed. That's, I think, what our main focus has been and will be with the show is essentially how can we orange pill sort of more normie people? How can we tell the story of Bitcoin and get them to understand it in sort of this like gut level way? So that's it. And then, maybe part of that too is also just for fun for Bitcoiners and the Bitcoin community to have something to, enjoy together, laugh about the history, the people, and kind of just poke fun and have some fun with it all.